It all started on a humid afternoon in Atlanta when cameras rolled for what was supposed to be a calm reunion scene on set. No one, neither the producers nor the cast, had any idea that within minutes, the studio would turn into a battlefield of words, tears, and shattered pride. Rasheeda, usually the picture of control, walked in wearing a sharp red blazer, her energy unreadable, while Jasmine stood across the set, chin lifted high, her confidence masking the storm brewing beneath. The tension was so thick the crew could feel it before a single word was spoken. Everyone knew there was history between these two women, years of rumors, infidelity, and unfinished business, but nobody expected it to explode in real time. As the director called action, the air went still. Rasheeda's voice was calm. At first, almost too calm. The kind of tone that warns of something darker beneath. "You really think I don't see through all this?" she said, her eyes fixed on Jasmine. Cameras zoomed in. Jasmine crossed her arms, smirked slightly, and shot back. "I'm not here to play victim or villain. I'm here to tell the truth." That word truth set the tone for everything that followed. Crew members exchanged glances, knowing that truth in this world rarely came without receipts, accusations, and old wounds. Within seconds, the atmosphere cracked. Rasheeda stepped forward, her voice rising, words sharper now. "You had years to say what you needed to say. You waited till the cameras were rolling because you want attention. You always have." Jasmine's smirk faltered for a split second before she fired back. "Attention? Or accountability? There's a difference, Rasheeda." A few gasps rippled through the crew. The director whispered, "Keep rolling." Nobody dared to blink. Then came the moment that would trend everywhere. Rasheeda moved closer, her expression unreadable, while Jasmine refused to back down. "You think this is your show?" Jasmine said, her tone trembling slightly. "But you forgot who made it messy in the first place." The room fell silent. Kirk's name wasn't spoken yet, but it hung in the air like smoke, thick, suffocating, impossible to ignore. One producer whispered into her headset, "Do we stop?" But before she could get an answer, Rasheeda's voice cut through again. "Colder now. You're still living off old drama that doesn't belong to you anymore." A chair scraped. One of the camera operators shifted nervously. The tension felt physical now, like electricity. That's when Jasmine stepped forward, breaking the invisible line between them. Her words hit like a spark. "Maybe if you'd faced the truth instead of pretending everything was perfect, none of this would have happened." That was the moment security started edging closer, sensing what was coming. What no one realized was that this confrontation wasn't just about the past, it was about everything both women had been carrying for years. Betrayal, pride, and the painful need to prove who was right. Fans who saw the leaked teaser online later would call it the most explosive scene in love and hip-hop history. But for those who were there, it felt less like television and more like a real emotional eruption that could not be scripted or contained. And as Rasheeda finally turned away, eyes glistening but unbroken, it was clear that this was far from over. Because what happened next would pull in the entire cast and force the crew to step in before things went completely out of control. The tension on set was palpable from the very first moment Rasheeda walked onto the studio floor. Her heels clicked against the polished concrete like a warning drum, each step echoing louder than the last, while Jasmine leaned against the equipment, cart, arms crossed, and eyes sharp, her entire body radiating defiance. The crew knew something was brewing. Whispers had been swirling around for weeks about simmering resentment, unfinished conversations, and personal betrayals that had never been aired publicly. Now, under the glare of studio lights and the hum of cameras, it was about to explode. Rasheeda stopped a few feet from Jasmine, her gaze slicing through the air like a knife, and for a moment, everything froze. The sound of a mic buzzing, a lens adjusting, the faint cough of a production assistant, none of it mattered. Only the silent storm building between these two women held the room hostage. "You really think you can just waltz in here and act like nothing happened?" Rasheeda's voice cut through the silence, sharp and controlled, but the undercurrent of fury was unmistakable. Jasmine's jaw tightened, her eyes glinting with a mixture of anger and amusement. "Rasheeda, I didn't come here to fight, I came here to speak," she replied, her tone calm but carrying a sting that made everyone flinch. The crew, sensing the escalating energy, exchanged worried looks. Some fiddled with cameras, hoping to remain unnoticed, while others pressed their hands over their mouths, afraid to breathe too loudly and provoke the storm. The director tried to maintain composure, softly murmuring directions into the headset, but even he knew that controlling this scene might be impossible. Rasheeda took a slow step forward, the tension winding tighter like a spring ready to snap. "Speak," she repeated, her tone laced with disbelief. "You call what you're doing speaking? Airing out everything in front of the cameras? Using this set to rewrite history? I've known the truth for years, and you think the world needs your version?" Jasmine didn't flinch. She straightened, her chin lifting, eyes locked onto Rasheeda's. "Maybe the world doesn't need it," she said, "but maybe it's time someone actually told it. Maybe it's time someone faced the consequences." The words hung in the air, heavy and dangerous. For a brief second, the room seemed to shrink around them. Every crew member, every light, every microphone caught in the gravitational pull of the confrontation. A camera operator whispered to her colleague, "This isn't going to stay safe for long," and it was clear she was right. Rasheeda's fingers curled into fists at her sides. Her breathing shallow, every inch of her radiating barely contained rage. Jasmine's smirk was gone now, replaced with a cool, unwavering stare that dared Rasheeda to make the first move. "You think you can just walk into my life, into my set, and lecture me about consequences?" Rasheeda snapped, the volume of her voice startling some of the crew. The walls of the studio seemed to vibrate with the power of her words. Jasmine's response was almost measured, almost serene, but her eyes betrayed the intensity beneath. "I don't need to lecture you," she said, her voice low, steady. "I just need to remind you that everything you've tried to hide isn't hidden anymore. It's out, it's visible. And yes, it's on you to deal with it." A tense silence followed. For a moment, the air was so thick it felt like one wrong breath could ignite a fire. Then Rasheeda laughed, a sharp, incredulous sound, more bitter than amused. "Visible? Do you really think the world cares about your little stories? Your petty grievances?" she said, her voice rising, words tumbling out faster now. "I've built my life, my career, my family's respect, and you think your little speeches change that? Think again." Jasmine's lips pressed into a thin line. She inhaled slowly and said, almost whispering but with lethal precision, "Petty? No. Necessary. Overdue. And don't fool yourself, Rasheeda. The world always notices when someone's been hiding the truth." Then came the movement, subtle but electric. Rasheeda's hand flicked toward a prop, a symbolic gesture of dominance. But Jasmine didn't step back. Instead, she mirrored the motion, a silent challenge that made the crew flinch. Whispers ran through the set. "Oh no, they're really going to do it." The cameras kept rolling, capturing every heartbeat, every shift of weight, every narrowing of eyes. Producers tried to intervene subtly, stepping into peripheral positions, ready to step in if things escalated further. But the women seemed oblivious to everyone except each other. The conversation shifted abruptly to the past, the accusations sharper now, each word cutting deeper than the last. "You've lied for years," Rasheeda said, her voice almost trembling with emotion. "You've pretended, manipulated, and now you think you can just waltz back and play the victim." Jasmine shook her head slowly, her voice trembling with controlled anger. "Rasheeda, I didn't pretend. I survived. I adapted. And I'm done letting people write the story for me. If that makes you uncomfortable, that's on you." It was in that instant that the entire dynamic of the set shifted. Other cast members, who had been quietly observing from the sidelines, started whispering among themselves, their expressions a mix of shock and fascination. Family drama, rivalries, and past secrets collided in the room like a storm. Someone muttered, "I've never seen Rasheeda like this before," while another said, "Jasmine isn't backing down. This is insane." The energy was contagious, spreading to every corner of the studio, making everyone hyper-aware of the unfolding spectacle. Then, unexpectedly, Rasheeda lunged forward, not physically, but with words that hit like daggers. "Do you really think this is just about me? You're dragging everyone into your mess, your little crusade for attention." Jasmine's response was instant, sharp, and cutting. "Attention. You think this is about that? It's about accountability. It's about truth. If anyone's dragging anyone, it's you dragging your lies through years of silence." The tension escalated further as security edged closer, sensing that words might no longer be enough to contain the storm. Crew members held their breath, hands hovering over equipment, unsure whether to intervene or remain observers to history in the making. Rasheeda's eyes glinted, dangerous, the weight of her pride almost tangible. Jasmine, unwavering, met every gaze with defiance, refusing to be intimidated. It was a silent war of wills, neither willing to cede even an inch. As the argument spiraled, the past was dragged into the present. Accusations flew about hidden secrets, old betrayals, and the messy entanglements that had never been resolved. "You've destroyed trust," Rasheeda shouted, her voice cracking under the pressure. "You've made promises and broken them, and now you want to act like martyr." Jasmine's retort was cold, precise, and cutting. "Martyr? No. Survivor. Someone who finally refuses to be silenced while you pretend everything is perfect." The room was electric. Even the cameras seemed to tremble with the weight of the confrontation. Assistants ducked behind lighting rigs, whispering to each other, unable to look away. The crew was torn between professionalism and the irresistible pull of witnessing pure drama, and just when it seemed like the tension couldn't rise any higher, Rasheeda leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper that carried through the silence like a weapon. "You have no idea what you've started," she said. Jasmine's eyes flashed, a silent promise of retaliation, of fire, of truth unleashed. The first part of this confrontation had set the tone for everything that would follow. Emotions were raw, stakes were high, and the studio had transformed from a set into a battlefield of pride, history, and unresolved conflict. Every glance, every word, every breath held meaning, carrying the weight of years of hidden grievances and public facades. The crew knew it was only the beginning, that whatever came next would push boundaries, test loyalties, and force every player on set to confront the reality that once this storm was unleashed, nothing would ever be the same. Rasheeda's footsteps echoed again as she paced slightly, her voice now softer, but laced with venom. "You think the cameras make this safer? They make it worse," she said. Jasmine didn't flinch, her own movements precise, almost choreographed, matching Rasheeda's energy without giving an inch. "Worse for whom?" she asked. "The world already knows your type, Rasheeda. The world already sees who hides behind smiles and control. Now everyone will see the other side too. The subtle shifts, the charged silences, the unspoken threats, they all layered together, creating a scene so gripping that even the production assistants stopped mid-task, captivated, unable to pull away." Rasheeda's voice rose again, a mixture of despair and anger. "You're reckless. You don't understand consequences." Jasmine leaned in, their faces mere inches apart, eyes locked in a battle of fire and ice. Reckless? Or brave enough to face the truth? Security took a step closer, sensing the tipping point, but both women ignored them, consumed entirely by the confrontation. Cameras rolled, lights shone, and the crew recorded every heartbeat, every shift of tension, knowing this footage would dominate headlines and social feeds for weeks to come. Whispers of past incidents, broken friendships, and family entanglements intertwined with every exchange, adding layers of complexity and intensity. The argument began to oscillate between personal attacks and controlled statements, each woman testing the limits of the other. Rasheeda's pride and history of leadership clashed violently with Jasmine's need for acknowledgement and vindication. The air seemed to vibrate with every exchange, every syllable charged with emotion that threatened to ignite the room. Production assistants ducked, producers whispered into headsets, and camera operators captured every split-second movement, every raised eyebrow, every subtle gesture that could become a headline. The energy was relentless. Rasheeda's voice cracked with anger, a rare moment of vulnerability showing through the polished exterior. "You think you can just rewrite everything?" she spat. Jasmine tilted her head, her tone calm, deliberate, slicing through the tension like a razor. "Not rewrite, reveal. The difference is yours to live with." And so the storm continued, building in layers, each exchange more volatile than the last. The crew braced for the inevitable escalation, knowing the confrontation was far from over. Every eye on set was drawn into the vortex of emotion, the palpable electricity that neither Rasheeda nor Jasmine could contain. The set, once a space for performance, had become a stage for a real-life war of pride, history, and unresolved truths, with consequences that no one could predict. And the first chapter of this saga had only just begun. The tension that had electrified the studio showed no signs of easing. Rasheeda's face was a mask of controlled fury, yet her eyes betrayed the storm raging beneath. Jasmine stood her ground, unwavering, as if daring the entire set to challenge her presence. The crew, still frozen in the crossfire, exchanged nervous glances, aware that this confrontation had moved far beyond scripted drama and into something raw, unpredictable, and deeply personal. Whispers of past betrayals, old rumors, and family grievances floated through the air like smoke, making every word heavier, every glance sharper. "You think this is about the cameras? About the audience?" Rasheeda's voice rose, trembling with intensity. "It's not. It's about respect. It's about dignity. And you come in here, acting like the hero in your own story, and pretend I'm the villain." Jasmine's lips curled slightly, her tone measured but cold. "Rasheeda, Hero or villain isn't the point. Truth is, and you've hidden from it long enough. The world deserves to see both sides, not just your carefully curated image. The subtle jab sent ripples across the room. A producer muttered under her breath, "This is going to blow up bigger than anyone expected." The argument escalated quickly as past incidents resurfaced, each woman throwing verbal daggers sharper than the last. "You've lied to everyone around you for years," Rasheeda spat, her voice shaking with anger. "Family, friends, fans. Fans, you think they don't see it?" Jasmine shook her head slowly, her gaze unwavering. "I don't lie. I survived while you perfected appearances. Don't confuse hiding the truth with being honest." The crew swallowed hard, knowing they were witnessing not just a confrontation but a collision of histories, egos, and personal vendettas that had been simmering beneath the surface for years. The tension reached a new peak when Rasheeda stepped closer, her presence looming over Jasmine like a storm cloud. "Do you have any idea what you're doing?" she demanded, voice low, dangerous. "You're tearing apart everything I've built." Jasmine tilted her head, a faint smirk appearing despite the intensity. "Maybe it's time something built on lies came down. Maybe it's time someone held everyone accountable." The words landed like thunder, shaking the very air on set. For a moment, silence fell. It was the kind of silence that pressed against the ears, heavy and suffocating, filled only with the sound of uneven breathing and the faint hum of studio equipment. The crew glanced at each other, fear and fascination mingling in their eyes. One assistant whispered, "I've never seen anything like this," while another muttered, "It's like watching history happen in real time." Then came the sharp, cutting line that would ignite the next wave of chaos. "You've always thought you could manipulate everyone around you," Rasheeda said, her tone low but deadly. "Friends, family, even the cameras. But now, Jasmine, you're exposing it all." Jasmine's response was immediate, precise, and full of venom. "I'm not exposing. I'm revealing. There's a difference, Rasheeda, and you'll have to live with it." The room felt smaller now, the air charged with a palpable, almost physical electricity. Other cast members, previously silent observers, started murmuring amongst themselves. Some tried to remain neutral, others whispered their shock. And a few couldn't help but take sides, feeling the gravitational pull of the confrontation, the family drama, the personal grudges, the unspoken betrayals all had merged into a single, explosive moment that threatened to unravel everyone on set. Rasheeda's frustration became almost tangible. Her voice rose again, cracking slightly under the pressure. "You're reckless. Do you even understand the consequences of what you're doing?" Jasmine's stare never wavered. "Reckless, or finally brave enough to face the truth?" she countered, each word deliberate, each syllable dripping with defiance. The security team stepped closer, anticipating that words might soon be replaced by action, but both women ignored them, entirely absorbed in the battle of wills unfolding before the cameras. The argument then shifted to accusations of manipulation and hidden motives, old betrayals being laid bare with surgical precision. "You've used people for your own benefit for years," Rasheeda accused, her voice sharp, bitter. "Pretending to care while scheming behind their backs. Do you think the world doesn't see it?" Jasmine's reply was swift, cutting, and unflinching. "The only thing I've schemed is my survival. Everything else is consequence." "Don't confuse honesty with plotting, Rasheeda." As their exchange intensified, the crew felt the weight of the emotional gravity pulling them in. Lights reflected off sweaty foreheads, cameras captured every trembling hand, and microphones caught every raised tone. The tension was almost unbearable, like standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting for the inevitable plunge. Producers whispered into headsets, debating whether to intervene, but the energy was too strong, too electric. And the women were not ready to pause. Rasheeda's voice softened momentarily, the anger giving way to a bitter edge of vulnerability. "You think this is just between us?" she said, almost pleading, though the fury remained. "You're dragging everyone into this family. Friends, fans. It's bigger than you realize." Jasmine stepped closer, unafraid, eyes blazing. "I'm not dragging anyone. I'm letting the truth speak. You brought everyone in when you made choices you couldn't own. Now it's time to face it." The room seemed to vibrate with every exchanged word. Assistants, producers, and cast members alike could feel the charged air, caught between awe and fear. It was a confrontation that had no script, no safety net. A raw and unfiltered collision of pride, pain, and long-hidden truths. The weight of years of personal history pressed down on the studio, thick enough to choke. Then came a subtle but explosive shift. Rasheeda's expression darkened further, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. You don't know what you've started, she warned, eyes locked on Jasmine. Jasmine's gaze met hers unwaveringly, a silent promise of resistance and retaliation. Oh, I know exactly what I've started, she replied, calm yet deadly. And so will everyone else when the truth finally comes out. The confrontation spiraled into even more volatile territory, with each accusation sharper than the last. The past and present collided violently in the words exchanged, memories dredged up and thrown into the light with brutal honesty. Every subtle gesture, every sharp glance, every bite of a word was captured by cameras, recording history in the making. The set had transformed into a battlefield, and no one was safe from the emotional fallout. Security remained on the edges, tense, ready to intervene, but both women seemed almost oblivious to anyone but each other. The air was charged with anticipation, as if the room itself knew the confrontation was far from over. Rasheeda's hands curled into fists, trembling with controlled fury, while Jasmine's posture remained unwavering, her defiance palpable, unshakable. The argument continued, blending personal attacks with controlled, cutting statements, each exchange more intense than the last. Rasheeda's pride and history of leadership clashed violently with Jasmine's demand for acknowledgement and truth. The energy was relentless, with neither willing to yield, neither willing to be silenced. The cameras rolled, capturing every second, every expression, every syllable that would later ignite social media and dominate headlines. Then, almost as if sensing the escalation, the women's voices dropped into dangerous, intimate tones, each word heavy with history and consequence. Rasheeda's voice shook as she said, "You can't just step into my world and expect it to bend to you." Jasmine's response was ice-cold, precise, and deliberate. "The world already bends to nothing, Rasheeda. Now it will bend to reality, to truth, and to accountability. You'll see." The crew held their breath as the tension reached near breaking point. Assistants clutched their notes, producers whispered anxiously, and camera operators adjusted frantically to capture every moment. The argument was no longer just a performance. It had become a living, breathing entity, consuming everyone in its orbit. The first wave of the confrontation had ended, but everyone present knew, with a sinking certainty, that the storm was far from over. Rasheeda's steps echoed across the set as she moved with a combination of fury and purpose, her presence commanding the room. "This isn't over, Jasmine," she warned, voice low and deadly. Jasmine met her gaze without flinching. "No, it's only beginning," she replied, calm, precise, full of promise and threat. The atmosphere on set was electric, thick with emotion, heavy with anticipation, and pregnant with the knowledge that the drama would continue, unraveling secrets, testing loyalties, and leaving no one untouched. The confrontation had already rewritten the energy of the set. Personal histories collided, pride clashed with defiance, and the silent war of truths and lies had just begun. The crew, cast, and everyone present were caught in a maelstrom, unsure where it would end but unable to look away. Every heartbeat, every glance, every word carried weight. The first chapter of this explosive saga had concluded, but the storm was far from spent, and the unfolding drama promised consequences that would ripple far beyond the studio walls. The energy on set had shifted into something almost unbearable. Rasheeda's fury, simmering just beneath her polished exterior, collided with Jasmine's unwavering defiance, creating an atmosphere thick enough to cut with a knife. Crew members shifted nervously, cameras capturing every subtle twitch, every narrowing of eyes, every tremor in a hand. Whispers of past betrayals, old grudges, and family secrets lingered in the air, fueling the tension like dry kindling waiting for a spark. It was clear to everyone present that this confrontation was no ordinary set drama. It was personal, raw, and devastatingly real. Rasheeda's voice rose, trembling with both anger and disbelief. "You think this is just about a fight on set? Do you have any idea what you're doing? Do you even understand the consequences?" Jasmine tilted her chin, unwavering, eyes locking with Rasheeda's in a battle of wills. "Consequences?" she asked, her tone cold and deliberate. "The only consequence here is the truth coming to light. Everything else is on you." Her words landed like a blow, reverberating through the room and catching the crew off guard. A camera operator whispered, "Oh no, this is bad." The argument escalated as the past was dragged into the present. Rasheeda's face tightened, veins visible on her neck, her words sharp, precise, cutting. "You've used people, manipulated situations, twisted truths to fit your narrative. You think the world doesn't see it?" Jasmine's eyes narrowed, her response deliberate and unflinching. I survived while you hid behind appearances. Don't confuse my survival with manipulation. I'm not rewriting history, I'm revealing it. The subtle jab was enough to make a few crew members flinch. Realizing they were witnessing a collision of history, pride, and personal vendettas. Security edged closer, sensing the danger, but both women ignored the physical presence, consumed entirely by the exchange. The air felt charged, almost electric, as every word, every glance, every breath seemed to carry the weight of years of unresolved tension. Rasheeda's hand twitched, almost a reflexive gesture of dominance, while Jasmine's stance remained unwavering, a silent declaration that she would not back down. The tension was not just verbal, it was physical, palpable. A storm contained in the space between two people who had far too much history to simply let go. You don't understand, Rasheeda hissed, stepping closer, her voice low and dangerous. You're playing a game you can't win. You think exposing everything will free you. It won't, it will consume you. Jasmine leaned forward slightly, eyes burning with intensity. Free? No. I don't need freedom. I need accountability. And maybe it's time you faced it too. The words, calm yet lethal, reverberated through the studio. And even the most composed crew members felt a chill run down their spines. It wasn't just drama anymore, it was a reckoning. The argument spiraled further as accusations flew like missiles. Rasheeda's voice cracked under the weight of emotion. You've destroyed trust, Jasmine. You've made promises and broken them. You think you can just walk in here and act like everything is fine. Jasmine shook her head, her tone icy. Trust is earned, Rasheeda, not demanded. And you've spent years demanding it while hiding your own truths. A producer muttered into a headset. This is going to be the story of the year. If anyone survives it. The room seemed to shrink as the confrontation intensified. Every crew member, assistant, and cast member was caught in the gravitational pull of the escalating tension. Whispers of past incidents, infidelities, hidden agendas, and family drama mixed with the immediate emotional explosion, creating a chaotic, almost suffocating atmosphere. It was as if the set itself had become a character, a living entity feeding on every word, every glance, every subtle motion. Rasheeda's frustration boiled over, her voice rising again. You're reckless. You don't know what you're starting. This isn't just about you, or Mit's bigger than that. You're dragging everyone into your chaos. Jasmine's gaze remained fixed, calm, precise, deadly. Chaos? No. Clarity. It's about time someone saw the full picture. You brought everyone into the mess when you made choices you couldn't own. Now it's time to face reality. The intensity in her voice made even the security team pause, sensing that words alone were no longer sufficient to contain the fire. Then came the moment that made the crew collectively hold their breath. Rasheeda's tone dropped, nearly a whisper but loaded with venom. You don't know the storm you've unleashed. Jasmine leaned in slightly, her own voice quiet but unyielding. Oh, I know exactly what I've unleashed. And so will everyone else when they see it. The subtle menace in her words was enough to make everyone flinch. The confrontation was no longer just about the past, it had become a catalyst for the present. A chain reaction that threatened to pull everyone on set into its orbit. Accusations turned into personal attacks. Sharp, cutting, and unrelenting. Rasheeda's pride and control clashed violently with Jasmine's insistence on truth and exposure. The studio, once a place for scripted drama, had become a battlefield of emotions, history, and unresolved conflicts. The crew, caught in the crossfire, could do nothing but watch, mesmerized and terrified. As the confrontation escalated to heights no one had anticipated, Rasheeda's voice softened for a brief moment, a bitter edge of vulnerability peeking through her polished exterior. This isn't just about us, she murmured, her anger still present but tinged with despair. You're dragging the past, the family, the fans into this. You're making waves you can't control. Jasmine stepped closer, defiant, eyes locked on Rasheeda's. I'm not dragging anyone. I'm letting reality speak. You made the choices that created this storm. Now everyone will witness it. The energy in the room was electric. Assistants, producers, and cast members alike felt the pull of the confrontation. Every word, every gesture charged with meaning. It was no longer simply a clash of personalities. It was a revelation, a raw, unfiltered collision of past and present. Pride and truth, power and accountability. The cameras captured every second, every subtle motion, every inflection that would later become the defining moments of headlines, social media debates, and viral clips. Rasheeda's steps echoed with intent as she moved across the set, her presence dominating the space. This isn't over, she warned, voice low, lethal. Jasmine met her gaze unwaveringly. No, it's only beginning, she replied, calm, precise, yet full of threat and promise. The tension was almost a living thing, thick in the air, palpable to every person present. The first part of this confrontation had ended, but the storm was far from spent, and the drama promised consequences that would ripple far beyond the studio walls. The emotional battlefield continued to expand as past grievances were laid bare, the stakes escalating with every word exchanged. Rasheeda's voice, once controlled, now trembled with intensity, while Jasmine's posture remained unwavering, a statement of resilience, defiance, and unshakable resolve. The crew, producers, and assistants could only watch, helpless and captivated, as the collision of pride, history, and emotion unfolded. Every heartbeat, every glance, every word held the weight of years of secrets and unresolved tension, creating a spectacle impossible to ignore. Rasheeda's tone shifted, laced with a dangerous mixture of anger and vulnerability. You think you can just step into my world and demand the truth? She hissed, eyes blazing. Jasmine's gaze never wavered. I don't demand, I reveal, and reality doesn't care about anyone's comfort. The subtle power in her words sent a ripple through the crew, some of whom gasped quietly, realizing they were witnessing the rawest, most unfiltered confrontation in the show's history. The argument became a relentless exchange, alternating between accusations, personal attacks, and razor-sharp truths. Rasheeda's pride clashed violently with Jasmine's need for acknowledgement and vindication. The cameras captured every second, every expression, every inflection, documenting history as it unfolded in real time. The set had transformed into a crucible of raw emotion, and there was no turning back. As the confrontation continued, Rasheeda's voice dropped to a whisper, cold, venomous, yet edged with frustration. You have no idea what you're unleashing, she said. Jasmine leaned in, her calm gaze deadly. Oh, I know exactly what I'm unleashing, and so will everyone else when the truth finally comes out. The crew remained frozen, aware that they were in the presence of something historic. A dramatic collision that would leave lasting consequences for everyone involved. The storm showed no signs of abating. Every glance, every word, every subtle gesture added fuel to the fire. The first wave of confrontation had set the stage, but it was clear to everyone present that what followed would escalate even further, testing loyalties, unraveling secrets, and leaving no one untouched. The tension, the pride, and the history between these two women had created a volatile mix, and the studio itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next explosion of drama to erupt. The confrontation showed no signs of slowing, each second stretching longer than the last. Every word and gesture charged with electric intensity. Rasheeda's eyes burned with a mixture of anger, disbelief, and pride, her voice oscillating between controlled fury and raw, unfiltered emotion. Jasmine remained unmoved, her posture rigid, her expression unyielding. Each glance and subtle smirk, a challenge that made the crew uneasy. Whispers circulated quietly among the assistants and camera operators, some daring to murmur, "I've never seen anything like this in all my years on set," while others whispered fears of what might happen if the tension escalated beyond words. Rasheeda stepped closer, her presence imposing, voice dropping to a low, venomous tone. "Do you even realize what you're doing, Jasmine? Dragging everyone into this mess, making public a story that should have stayed private." Jasmine's eyes flashed, calm yet deadly, as she replied, "I realize exactly what I'm doing. I'm showing the truth, exposing what's been hidden. The people deserve to see it." The subtle weight of those words pressed on the room like a storm cloud, and crew members instinctively backed away, sensing the energy of something that had surpassed mere argument. The verbal battle escalated as the past was drawn into the present, each accusation more pointed than the last. "You've lied for years," Rasheeda spat, her voice cracking with a mixture of rage and vulnerability. "Friends, family, everyone around you, you've manipulated them all. And now you have the audacity to act like you're the victim." Jasmine's jaw tightened, and she responded with a measured coldness. "Victim? No. Survivor. Someone who refuses to let the lies dictate her life any longer. This isn't about victimhood, it's about accountability." The cameras continued rolling, capturing every subtle flicker of emotion, every tremble of a hand, every glance that betrayed the intensity of the feud. Security edged forward, sensing that words alone might no longer contain the storm. But both women ignored the presence, entirely absorbed in their battle of wills. The tension was nearly physical, the kind that makes the air seem thick, almost suffocating, as if every breath taken added to the weight of the confrontation. Rasheeda's fists clenched at her sides, trembling slightly with barely contained anger, while Jasmine's stance remained unwavering, her calm defiance almost defiant in its intensity. Then came the line that made everyone flinch. Rasheeda's voice, low and deadly, broke the silence. You don't understand the magnitude of what you're doing. You're not just facing years of choices, of loyalty, of consequences that you're too blind to see. Jasmine leaned forward slightly, her eyes locking with Rasheeda's voice, calm but filled with unmistakable authority. I see it clearly, and the world will see it too. Your choices are no longer yours to hide. The atmosphere became charged with near-tangible electricity. The crew, the cast, even the assistants felt as though the room itself had contracted. The weight of history, pride, and unresolved drama pressing down on them. Every glance, every word, every small movement carried significance. A whispered conversation between two producers hinted at the magnitude. This could ruin everything if it gets out of control. The gravity of the moment was undeniable. Rasheeda's voice rose, raw emotion leaking through. You're reckless. Do you even think about what this will do? You're shattering lives, Jasmine. Can't you see that? Jasmine's response was precise, cutting, and unwavering. I'm not shattering lives. I'm revealing reality. The only ones breaking are the illusions, the lies that have been carefully maintained for years. You brought everyone into this through your choices. Now they deserve to see the consequences. As the exchange intensified, accusations of betrayal, manipulation, and deception flew back and forth like verbal daggers. Rasheeda's pride and past leadership clashed violently against Jasmine's determination to expose and confront. The crew, caught in the middle, could do nothing but observe, captivated and fearful, recording every heartbeat, every expression, every inflection, knowing that the footage would dominate headlines, social media, and gossip circles for months to come. A moment of chilling calm passed when Rasheeda, voice lowering, threatened softly but with unmistakable menace. You have no idea the storm you've summoned. Jasmine leaned slightly closer, her calm gaze piercing, her voice deliberate and lethal. I know exactly the storm. And so will everyone else when the truth comes out. The tension was nearly suffocating. Even the security team tensed, preparing for escalation, though both women ignored them, focused entirely on their battle. Their confrontation moved beyond personal grievances, intertwining with professional stakes, past betrayals, and unspoken alliances. The set, once a neutral space for filming, had transformed into a battlefield of pride, history, and emotional conflict. Assistants whispered nervously, producers argued softly into headsets, and camera operators adjusted their positions, trying to capture every fleeting expression, every subtle movement that could later define the saga. Rasheeda's anger mingled with bitter vulnerability as she paced slightly, voice dropping to a low, almost trembling intensity. You think stepping into my world and exposing everything makes you strong? It makes you reckless. You'll see the fallout, Jasmine. Everyone will suffer for this. Jasmine's lips pressed into a thin line, eyes locking with Rasheeda's strength. No, honesty, clarity. The fallout isn't mine, it's yours. Truth has a way of demanding reckoning, and you can't escape it. The energy in the room continued to rise. Every gesture, every glance, every spoken word, layered with meaning, tension, and history. The first wave of the confrontation had set the stage, but it was clear to everyone that this was only the beginning. Rasheeda and Jasmine were locked in a relentless battle, neither willing to yield, each pushing the other toward exposure, confrontation, and inevitable revelation. The crew, assistants, and cast members watched helplessly, knowing that the storm would not relent, and that the drama unfolding would leave scars far beyond the studio walls. As the argument reached new heights, Rasheeda's voice, sharp and deadly, pierced the charged silence. You've underestimated what this set represents, Jasmine. It's not just a location, it's my territory, my life, my story. And you're tearing it apart with your so-called truth. Jasmine's eyes did not waver. Her calm, deliberate voice cut through the tension like a knife. Truth doesn't respect territories, Rasheeda. It doesn't care about stories or facades. It exists, and now it's time, it's seen. The subtle, almost imperceptible movements of the women were charged with intent. Rasheeda's hand twitched as if to gesture, to emphasize, but the very air between them seemed alive, pulsing with emotion, history, and unspoken threats. The crew could feel it in their bones, the electricity of a storm that refused to dissipate, one that would continue to escalate until the ultimate truth emerged. The verbal battle continued, alternating between accusations, personal revelations, and pointed threats. Rasheeda's pride and authority clashed violently against Jasmine's need for recognition and justice. Every word was heavy with consequence, every glance a silent duel, every pause a calculated threat. The cameras rolled tirelessly, capturing each fleeting moment, each subtle inflection, every quiver in a lip, every tremor of a hand, preserving the drama for history. Then, Rasheeda leaned slightly forward, voice low, venomous, yet trembling with the weight of emotion. "You have no idea what you've started, Jasmine. This isn't just drama, it's devastation waiting to happen. Do you even comprehend that?" Jasmine's calm eyes met hers, unwavering, precise, deadly. "I comprehend perfectly. And the devastation, it's not mine. It's yours. For hiding, lying, and pretending that nothing matters until now." The crew remained paralyzed, the studio air thick with unrelenting tension. Every heartbeat, every whispered word, every shift of weight carried significance. It was a confrontation unlike any other, a collision of history, pride, emotion, and long-suppressed truths that had finally erupted into the open. The storm had begun in earnest, and nothing on set or beyond would ever be the same. The emotional battlefield was relentless. Rasheeda's voice, filled with bitter intensity, rose and fell like waves of a violent ocean. Jasmine's steady, calculated defiance acted as both anchor and spark, challenging every word, every movement, every claim. The confrontation had reached a level where even silence held meaning, where every unspoken glance carried the weight of history, betrayal, and impending consequences. The first chapters of this conflict had laid the groundwork for an unstoppable storm. Every glance, every inflection, every subtle motion had been recorded, witnessed, and felt. The set had transformed from a simple filming location into a crucible of raw emotion, pride, and truth. The consequences were unpredictable, the tension almost unbearable, and the confrontation far from over. The storm was gathering force, promising further eruptions that would challenge loyalties, expose secrets, and redefine every relationship on set and beyond. The studio felt smaller, tighter, almost suffocating, as the emotional energy between Rasheeda and Jasmine intensified. Each word, each glance, carried the weight of years of rivalry, unspoken resentments, and personal betrayals. Assistants clutched scripts and notepads, their fingers trembling slightly, while camera operators adjusted angles with bated breath, trying to capture every second without disrupting the electric tension that had overtaken the room. It was no longer a simple argument. It had evolved into a spectacle of raw human emotion, a battle where pride, truth, and history collided in a violent, unrelenting storm. Rasheeda's voice cut sharply through the air, trembling with controlled fury. "You think you're clever, don't you? Stepping in here, acting like the world owes you the truth. But this isn't about you, Jasmine. It's about everything I've built, the respect I've earned, the family I've protected." Jasmine's expression remained unwavering, cold, deliberate, each word she spoke slicing through the tension. "Respect earned through deception isn't respect at all. Protection built on lies is only a cage. And I'm done pretending it's anything else." The subtle rise in volume caught everyone's attention, the escalating pitch of their voices echoing through the studio like thunder. Crew members instinctively stepped back, some whispering nervously to each other. This is beyond anything we've ever dealt with," one muttered, glancing toward the production manager who nodded grimly, acknowledging that this confrontation was teetering dangerously close to a physical altercation. Rasheeda's nostrils flared as she stepped closer, her presence almost suffocating. "You don't know what you're doing, Jasmine. You're walking into a fire you can't control. You're exposing not just me, but everyone around us. The consequences will be devastating." Jasmine's reply was calm, sharp, and filled with quiet intensity. "I know exactly what I'm doing. The devastation isn't mine, it's yours. And it's the only way the truth finally sees daylight." The subtle defiance in her tone made several crew members shift uneasily, sensing the volatility of the moment. The exchange spiraled, accusations ricocheting back and forth with increasing speed and precision. Rasheeda's pride, cultivated over years of carefully curated appearances and control, clashed violently against Jasmine's demand for transparency and confrontation. "You've manipulated, you've lied, you've used people for your advantage." Rasheeda's words were sharp, each syllable infused with anger and betrayal. Jasmine's eyes narrowed, her voice low, deliberate, slicing through the air. "Manipulation? No. I've survived. I've faced truths you've hidden. I'm not rewriting history, I'm revealing it." Rasheeda. Security moved subtly closer, ready to intervene if the situation escalated beyond verbal sparring. But both women were entirely absorbed in each other, the intensity of their confrontation leaving little room for anyone else to act. The air seemed electrically charged, heavy with emotion, anticipation, and the raw, almost tangible weight of history colliding with reality. Rasheeda's voice dropped, laden with venom and barely restrained fury. "You can't just walk in here and expect everything to bend to you. Do you understand what you've started?" Jasmine's eyes didn't waver. Her voice was calm, precise, deadly. "Oh, I understand perfectly. And the world will see exactly what has been hidden for so long." The subtle yet powerful defiance in her words seemed to make the room itself tremble, the tension palpable in every corner. Their confrontation became a relentless rhythm of accusation and defense, pride and defiance, history and revelation. The cameras captured every minute detail, the tightening of jaws, the subtle shifts of weight, the narrowing of eyes, the tremor of hands, all preserved in high-definition reality that would later dominate gossip, social media, and viewer debates. The crew, unable to intervene without escalating tension, simply observed, mesmerized and fearful, caught in the gravitational pull of two powerful personalities at war. Rasheeda's expression softened momentarily, revealing a sliver of vulnerability beneath the fury. "You're destroying everything: relationships, trust, everything I've worked for. Do you even care?" Jasmine leaned slightly forward, her calm, icy gaze unflinching. "I care about reality, Rasheeda. I care about truth. The destruction you see is a consequence of your choices, not mine." The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. The room holding its collective breath as the weight of the confrontation pressed down on everyone present. The argument took a subtle but sharp turn as old secrets were revealed, accusations of betrayal intertwined with personal grievances and professional stakes. Rasheeda's voice trembled as she spat out sharp words. "You think this is about today. This is years of hidden truths, hidden betrayals, and you've just waltzed in like a savior. It's reckless, dangerous, and unforgivable." Jasmine's calm demeanor never faltered. "Reckless. Maybe. Necessary. Absolutely. Truth cannot wait, Rasheeda. And I refuse to let your carefully curated lies dictate reality any longer." Crew members shifted uncomfortably, some exchanging worried glances, others murmuring quietly, aware that they were witnessing history. The tension, almost physical now, pressed on everyone like a tangible force. Producers whispered into headsets, debating intervention, though each moment of hesitation only heightened the anticipation of what might unfold next. The confrontation had surpassed typical drama. It had become a spectacle of raw human emotion, one that seemed to draw energy from every person present. Rasheeda's hand twitched, almost unconsciously, emphasizing the intensity of her words. "Do you know what it means to destroy someone's world, Jasmine? To unravel years of trust and image and respect?" Jasmine's reply was slow, deliberate, unwavering. "I know exactly what it means. It means truth finally has a voice. It means consequences are inevitable. It means reality can no longer be ignored." As the verbal battle continued, the emotional stakes escalated further. Rasheeda's pride, her cultivated image, and years of authority clashed with Jasmine's demand for transparency and accountability. The room felt alive, every glance, every breath, every subtle gesture a piece of the larger, explosive drama unfolding. Security remained at the ready, yet neither woman acknowledged them, fully immersed in the raw, unfiltered confrontation. Rasheeda's voice dropped to a whisper, venomous yet vulnerable. "You have no idea what you're unleashing." Jasmine leaned forward, eyes locked on hers, calm yet deadly. "I know exactly what I'm unleashing, and so will everyone else." The crew held their collective breath as the weight of those words sank in, aware that the confrontation had moved beyond personal animosity. It was now a spectacle that would ripple far beyond the walls of the studio. The argument escalated to a fever pitch, with accusations flying like daggers and personal grievances being laid bare for all to see. Rasheeda's anger, pride, and history of control collided violently with Jasmine's resolve, creating a storm that seemed impossible to contain. Cameras captured every detail: the flicker of an eye, the tightening of a jaw, the subtle shift of weight as the two women navigated their complex emotional battlefield. Then, in a moment of eerie calm, Rasheeda's voice softened, tinged with bitter realization. "You think you can just expose everything and walk away? Do you even realize the consequences?" Jasmine's gaze never wavered, her voice calm, precise, yet threatening. "Consequences exist because lies exist. I'm not causing them, Rasheeda, I'm revealing them. Truth doesn't need a mask." The room seemed to pulse with energy, charged by the collision of history, pride, emotion, and revelation. Every assistant, producer, and camera operator felt it, each one caught in the gravitational pull of the confrontation. The first waves had set the stage. The storm was building, promising further escalation, shocking revelations, and irreparable consequences. Rasheeda's words came faster now, sharp, cutting, almost frantic. You don't understand the destruction you're creating. This is bigger than you. Bigger than me? It's the family, the crew, everyone who trusted us. Jasmine remained composed, her calm voice slicing through the tension like a knife. I understand perfectly. The destruction is not mine, it's the inevitable fallout from hidden truths finally emerging. You made the choices. Now you face them. The emotional battlefield continued, with every glance, every word, every subtle movement layered with meaning. The confrontation had transformed the set into a crucible of raw human emotion. One that would leave lasting scars and define the narrative for years to come. Security and crew alike remained paralyzed, unable to act, yet fully aware that history was being written before their eyes. The storm showed no sign of abating. Rasheeda's voice, sharp and deadly, pierced the charged air. You've underestimated the power of what you're doing, Jasmine. This isn't just drama, it's devastation waiting to happen. Jasmine's calm eyes met hers, unwavering. Precise devastation. No revelation. Truth. Finally, the world sees what has been hidden, and there's nothing left to stop it. The tension was almost unbearable. Every heartbeat, every whispered word, every subtle shift in posture, charged with meaning. The confrontation had evolved into a relentless spectacle, a collision of ego, pride, history, and truth, creating a narrative so potent that everyone present could feel it in their bones. The storm had begun in earnest, and the next chapters promised escalation, shocking revelations, and consequences that would ripple far beyond the studio walls. Rasheeda's tone softened, yet carried an edge of dangerous intent. You have no idea what this will do to everyone involved. The fallout is inevitable. Jasmine leaned closer, voice calm, deliberate, icy. I know exactly what will happen. The fallout is truth claiming its place. And nothing, not even you, can stop it. The emotional intensity continued to escalate. Assistants, producers, and crew felt the charged air pressing down on them. Cameras captured every second, every flicker of emotion, every subtle movement. The confrontation had grown beyond personal rivalry, was now a storm of human emotion, history, and consequence. The tension was relentless, the stakes enormous, and the drama was far from over. The first part of the confrontation had set the stage, established the stakes, and revealed the depth of the conflict. Yet everyone present knew this was only the beginning. The storm was gathering force, ready to break into an even more explosive, dramatic, and unforgettable confrontation that would test loyalties, expose hidden truths, and leave no one untouched. The energy on set had become almost unbearable, thick with tension, history, and unspoken grievances. Every person in the room could feel it, the way the air seemed to crackle. How the slightest gesture or shift in posture carried the weight of decades of unresolved conflict. Rasheeda's fury simmered beneath her polished exterior, a storm barely contained, while Jasmine's eyes remained locked, calm, piercing, her defiance like ice against fire. Whispers among the crew grew louder, an undercurrent of fear and fascination. This is beyond anything we've ever seen, one assistant muttered, barely audible. Another camera operator nodded silently, his hand trembling over the controls. Rasheeda's voice rose again, raw and trembling with fury. You think stepping onto this set and pointing fingers makes you some kind of hero? Do you even realize the destruction you're causing? Jasmine's tone was measured, icy, unflinching. I'm not here to be a hero. I'm here to show the truth, to reveal what's been hidden. The destruction is not minutes, the consequences of your choices. The subtle edge of certainty in her voice made several crew members flinch, understanding they were witnessing a reckoning that would leave lasting marks on everyone involved. Security hovered closer, sensing that words might no longer suffice to contain the tension. But both women seemed impervious, locked in a battle that transcended simple argument. The air was thick, electric, every breath drawn heavy with anticipation. Rasheeda's hand twitched almost unconsciously, her voice shaking slightly as she continued. You don't understand what you've unleashed, Jasmine. This storm. It won't just touch me. It will ripple through everyone, destroy relationships, reputations, everything I've built. Jasmine's eyes narrowed, calm but lethal. I understand perfectly. The storm isn't mine to control, but the truth. That's mine to reveal. Everything else is a consequence of hiding, of pretending nothing matters. Their voices bounced off the walls of the studio, each word a projectile, each glance a subtle challenge. The crew instinctively moved back, some whispering frantically to each other. I can't believe this is happening live, one producer murmured, clutching her headset. The cameras continued to roll, capturing every minute detail, the tension in the shoulders, the narrowing of eyes, the slight tremor in a hand. The almost imperceptible lip twitch, each moment a piece of the story that would later dominate headlines and social media feeds. Rasheeda's voice, a mixture of venom and desperation, sliced through the charged air. You've made enemies out of friends, family, everyone who trusted you. You've torn apart what took years to build, and for what? Attention. Revenge. Jasmine tilted her head slightly, her calm demeanor making her words hit with precise impact. Attention. No. Accountability. Truth, and the people deserve to know. Your so-called empire of trust and respect is built on lies, and it's crumbling because I refuse to look away. The subtle threat in her voice made even seasoned crew members uneasy. The set, once a neutral backdrop for scripted drama, had transformed into a battlefield, a crucible of pride, history, and raw emotion. Every glance, every subtle movement, every word carried significance. The tension was so thick it felt almost tangible, pressing down on everyone present. Producers whispered into headsets, debating whether to step in, though hesitation only amplified the anticipation. Rasheeda's fists clenched at her sides, the veins on her neck visibly strained as she tried to maintain composure. You have no idea what you're stepping into, Jasmine. This isn't just about today. This is years of hidden truths, of loyalties betrayed, of lives manipulated. And now you waltz in here, claiming some moral high ground. Jasmine's gaze remained unshaken, steady, precise, her voice low, deliberate, carrying the weight of unyielding determination. Moral high ground. No. Clarity, revelation. The truth doesn't care about convenience, comfort, or appearances. It exists, and it demands to be seen. The confrontation spiraled further, accusations ricocheting like bullets. Rasheeda's pride and control clashed violently with Jasmine's unflinching resolve to expose reality. You've twisted everything, turned people against each other, and now you think the world will see it your way. She spat, her voice thick with anger. Jasmine's lips pressed into a thin line, eyes cold, unyielding. I'm not twisting anything. I'm showing what's already there, what's been ignored, what's been hidden. The world will see it because it's real, not because I fabricated it. The energy in the room grew nearly physical, thick with tension, history, and the weight of long-suppressed truths. Every assistant, producer, and crew member felt the storm pressing on them, a force they could neither ignore nor escape. The confrontation was no longer about personal animosity alone. It was a spectacle, a collision of ego, pride, betrayal, and exposure that would redefine every relationship present. Rasheeda's voice dropped to a whisper, laced with venom and almost palpable fear. You don't understand what this will do. The consequences are unimaginable. Jasmine leaned forward slightly, her gaze piercing, voice calm but deadly. I understand perfectly. The consequences are the truth finally demanding its place, and nothing, neither fear, nor anger, nor pride, can stop it now. The verbal battle intensified, a relentless rhythm of accusations, defenses, and pointed revelations. Rasheeda's carefully curated image and cultivated authority clashed violently with Jasmine's insistence on transparency and accountability. Every word, every glance, every subtle gesture carried weight, captured meticulously by cameras that would later immortalize the confrontation. A moment of eerie calm passed, the studio almost holding its collective breath. Rasheeda's voice, soft but deadly, broke the silence. You think this ends here? Exposing everything won't just change the story, it will unravel lives. Jasmine's eyes narrowed, voice unwavering, precise. The story is already unraveling because of hidden truths. I'm not changing it, I'm revealing it. The lives unraveling are a consequence of secrecy, not honesty. The crew shifted uncomfortably, the air heavy with anticipation and dread. Assistants whispered, producers muttered into headsets, all aware that they were witnessing something unprecedented, a collision of history, pride, emotion, and revelation so intense it was almost tangible. Security remained nearby, vigilant, but restrained, sensing that the situation could escalate further at any moment. Rasheeda's voice rose again, almost shaking with frustration. You've underestimated the power of what you're doing, Jasmine. You're not just facing Muir, facing the fallout of years of decisions, of trust betrayed, of loyalties broken. Do you even grasp that? Jasmine's calm stare met hers, voice low, deliberate. carrying authority and finality. I grasp it perfectly. The fallout isn't mine. The fallout belongs to the lies, the deception, the choices you've made. And it's finally coming to light. The tension reached almost unbearable levels. Assistants, producers, and crew members felt as though the room itself had become a living entity, pulsing with energy, history, and emotion. Every subtle twitch, every narrowed eye, every slight shift of weight carried meaning. The confrontation had evolved from a verbal clash into a spectacle, a storm that threatened to engulf everyone present. Rasheeda's tone softened momentarily, tinged with desperation. You think revealing everything will make you strong. It won't. It will destroy everything, including you. Jasmine's eyes, icy and unwavering, locked with hers. Strength isn't the goal. Truth is destruction. It's inevitable for lies, but I won't falter. I refuse to hide anymore. The cameras continued rolling, capturing every nuance, every inflection, every tremor of emotion. The confrontation had transformed the studio into a battleground of pride, history, betrayal, and revelation. Every member of the crew understood that they were documenting something historic, a story that would dominate discussions, social media, and gossip for years to come. Rasheeda's voice, low and venomous, almost a whisper, cut through the charged silence. You have no idea what storm you've unleashed. Jasmine leaned slightly forward, eyes steady, unwavering, voice calm but deadly. I know the storm, and so will everyone else. The truth will not be hidden any longer. The tension escalated to a crescendo. The emotional energy in the room, the collision of pride, history, and truth, had transformed the confrontation into a spectacle no one could ignore. Security tensed, assistants froze, and cameras captured every heartbeat, every glance, every subtle gesture. The storm was only intensifying, promising escalation, shocking revelations, and consequences that would ripple far beyond the studio walls. Every accusation, every defensive retort, every subtle threat added layers to the drama. Rasheeda's pride and authority clashed violently with Jasmine's resolve and determination to expose the truth. The room felt alive, charged with anticipation, history, and emotional intensity. The confrontation had surpassed personal conflict. It had become a relentless, inescapable spectacle of raw human emotion, one that would leave lasting impressions on everyone present. Rasheeda's voice softened slightly, but the edge remained. This isn't just about us. This is about everyone you're dragging into this, friends, family, the crew, the fans. Do you understand the chaos you're creating? Jasmine's calm gaze met hers, unflinching. Chaos? No. Clarity. Revelation. The consequences are yours to face, not mine. The world will see what has been hidden, and nothing can stop it. The storm of emotion and confrontation showed no signs of abatement. Every gesture, every glance, every word carried weight. The set, once a neutral space, had become a battlefield, a crucible of human pride, emotion, history, and truth. The crew and assistants, powerless to intervene, watched in awe and fear as Rasheeda and Jasmine continued their relentless battle, knowing that the next moments would define the narrative for years to come. The clash continued, tension rising, accusations and defenses spiraling into a relentless rhythm. Rasheeda's carefully maintained composure was breaking under the weight of history, pride, and the relentless exposure of hidden truths. Jasmine remained a calm, unyielding force, determined to reveal reality no matter the personal cost. The emotional intensity was almost unbearable, a storm-gathering force, promising further eruption, shocking revelations, and consequences that would extend far beyond the studio walls. The confrontation had reached a fever pitch, the energy in the studio nearly tangible, thick with tension, unspoken grudges, and years of unresolved conflict. Every word spoken by Rasheeda cut deep, her voice trembling with fury and a touch of desperation. You think you're brave? You think stepping in here and exposing everything makes you powerful? You don't understand the consequences of your actions. Jasmine's expression remained icy, her calm defiance sharp as a blade. I understand perfectly. The consequences are yours, Rasheeda. The lies, the betrayals, the secrets, they all have a price, and it's finally being paid. Security shifted closer, sensing the room could erupt into chaos at any moment, yet neither woman seemed willing to back down. The subtle, almost imperceptible tension between them was enough to make everyone else uneasy. The crew, assistants, and producers watched in awe and fear, aware that they were documenting a confrontation that would become legendary, one that would dominate gossip, headlines, and social media feeds for months. Rasheeda's eyes blazed, voice sharp, each word laced with venom. You don't get it, Jasmine. This isn't just drama. It's destruction, relationships, trust, careers, everything. And you're sitting here like it's nothing, like it's your moral crusade. Jasmine leaned forward, her gaze piercing, voice deliberate and steady. I'm not sitting here. I'm standing for truth. Destruction isn't mine, it's the natural consequence of lies. You created this web. Now it unravels. The room seemed to shrink around them, the weight of history, pride, and unspoken resentment pressing down on everyone present. Assistants whispered nervously to one another, some glancing at the security team for reassurance, others gripping scripts tightly, feeling powerless in the face of the storm. Camera operators adjusted angles constantly, capturing each subtle twitch of a hand, every narrowing of the eyes, each minute shift in posture. Rasheeda's voice dropped, lower, venomous, almost trembling with emotion. You have no idea what you're doing. The fallout will be catastrophic. Everyone will suffer because of you. Jasmine's gaze remained steady, unwavering, precise. I know exactly what I'm doing. The fallout isn't mine. It's yours, for hiding the truth, for manipulating, for pretending nothing matters until now. Their verbal duel intensified, a relentless volley of accusations and defenses, pride and defiance. Rasheeda's carefully maintained image of authority and control clashed violently with Jasmine's determination to expose reality, and the tension was so thick it felt almost suffocating. Every breath, every glance, every subtle gesture carried significance. The studio, once a place of professional collaboration, had transformed into a crucible of raw human emotion. Rasheeda's fists clenched at her sides, her knuckles white, veins straining in her neck as she tried to maintain composure. You think exposing everything will make you strong. It won't. It will destroy everyone, including you. Jasmine's calm eyes met hers, unflinching. Strength isn't the goal. Clarity, truth, exposure, that's the goal. Destruction is inevitable for lies, but I will not falter. I will not hide anymore. The cameras captured every second, every inflection, every tremor of emotion, documenting a confrontation that had escalated beyond personal rivalry into something historic. The crew, producers, and assistants were mesmerized and terrified, unable to look away, feeling the raw energy in the room as it built, threatening to spill over at any moment. Rasheeda's voice softened slightly, tinged with fear and desperation, yet the venom remained. You have no idea what storm you've unleashed. The chaos, the fallout, it will touch everyone around you. Jasmine leaned closer, her gaze steady, voice calm but lethal. I know the storm. The chaos is a consequence of your choices, not mine. Truth cannot be contained, and the world will see it. As the verbal battle raged on, accusations and personal grievances intertwined with professional stakes, Rasheeda's pride, cultivated over years, clashed violently with Jasmine's unwavering commitment to transparency and accountability. Every subtle gesture, every narrowed eye, every slight shift of weight carried meaning, captured meticulously by the cameras. Rasheeda's voice trembled slightly, a mixture of anger, fear, and frustration. You think you're clever, exposing everything like this. Do you realize the destruction you're causing? Jasmine's expression remained calm, precise, unwavering. I'm not causing destruction. I'm revealing it. The destruction you see is the natural consequence of hiding the truth. Lies have a cost, and it's time to pay it. The room pulsed with tension, every member of the crew aware that they were witnessing something extraordinary. The confrontation had evolved from personal conflict into a storm of emotion, pride, history, and revelation. Security remained vigilant. Assistants held their breath. Producers whispered anxiously, all sensing that the next moments could define the trajectory of everyone involved. Rasheeda's hands moved slightly, emphasizing her words, trembling with restrained emotion. You have no idea what you're getting into, Jasmine. Exposing everything isn't bravery, it's reckless, dangerous, and unforgivable. Jasmine leaned forward slightly, her voice deliberate, calm, and precise. Reckless? Perhaps. Necessary? Absolutely. The truth cannot wait. Rasheeda, your choices brought us here, and now the consequences are unavoidable. The tension continued to build, each verbal exchange more pointed, more intense than the last. The subtle undercurrent of threat, history, and pride made the room almost unbearable to be in. Assistants shifted nervously, producers whispered into headsets, and camera operators captured every mic, aware that these moments would dominate social media, gossip, and headlines for months to come. Rasheeda's voice rose sharply, filled with bitter anger. You've betrayed everyone, turned allies into enemies, and now you sit there acting like a savior. It's unforgivable. Jasmine's gaze was steady, icy, and unyielding. I'm not acting like a savior. I'm standing for reality, exposing what has been hidden. The betrayal you see is not mine, it is yours for hiding the truth for so long. The emotional intensity was nearly tangible, pressing down on everyone in the studio. The confrontation had evolved into a spectacle of pride, truth, history, and raw emotion. The crew could feel the weight of the storm building, knowing that the next moments could bring escalation, revelation, and consequences that would ripple far beyond the set. Rasheeda's tone dropped to a whisper, laced with venom and fear. Do you even comprehend the magnitude of what you're doing? The fallout will be catastrophic. Jasmine's eyes remained locked on hers. Calm, precise, unwavering. I comprehend fully. The fallout is a result of hidden truths finally emerging. It's not mine, it's yours, and everyone will see it. The tension escalated. Each word, each glance, each subtle movement, layered with meaning. The set, once a neutral space, had become a battleground of pride, emotion, history, and revelation. The storm continued to build, promising further escalation, shocking revelations, and consequences that would extend far beyond the studio walls. Rasheeda's voice softened slightly, tinged with desperation but still sharp. You're destroying everything, Jasmine. Everyone, everything I've built, it's crumbling because of you. Jasmine's gaze remained unwavering, her tone calm but lethal. I'm not destroying anything. I'm revealing what has always existed. The crumbling is the natural consequence of lies and deception finally being exposed. The emotional battlefield intensified. Assistants, producers, and crew members felt the charged air pressing on them, unable to look away. The confrontation had grown beyond personal animosity into a relentless spectacle of raw human emotion. Every subtle gesture, every glance, every word contributed to a narrative that would define the story for years to come. Rasheeda's voice trembled, a mixture of anger and fear. You don't understand what you're stepping into. This isn't just drama, it's devastation waiting to happen. Jasmine's eyes, calm and precise, met hers. I understand. The devastation isn't mine, it belongs to the lies, the secrets, and the choices you made. The world will see it now, and nothing can stop it. The room seemed to pulse with the collision of history, pride, and truth. Every subtle gesture, every micro-expression, every carefully chosen word carried immense weight. The confrontation was no longer just about personal rivalry, it had become a storm of emotion, pride, and revelation that would leave lasting effects on everyone involved. Rasheeda's tone softened slightly, but the venom remained. You have no idea the chaos you're creating. The consequences will touch everyone around you. Jasmine leaned forward, her voice calm, steady, and deliberate. I know the chaos. It's the natural result of hiding the truth. The world will see it, and nothing, not fear, nor pride, nor history can stop it. The verbal battle continued, intensifying with each passing moment. Rasheeda's carefully constructed authority clashed violently with Jasmine's unwavering commitment to exposing the truth. The energy in the room was almost tangible. Each breath, each glance, each subtle movement charged with meaning. The storm had fully arrived, and everyone present understood that what they were witnessing would become legendary. Rasheeda's voice dropped, trembling slightly with emotion. You've underestimated the power of what you're doing. This isn't just about today, it's about years of secrets, betrayals, and lies coming to light. Jasmine's gaze remained steady, voice calm, precise. I've never underestimated anything. The secrets, the betrayals, the lies, they're all yours, and now they will be seen. Truth cannot be hidden forever. The intensity in the room was almost unbearable. Assistants shifted nervously, producers whispered into headsets, and security remained on high alert. The confrontation had escalated beyond personal animosity into something historic, a collision of pride, truth, and emotion that would leave an indelible mark on everyone involved. Rasheeda's tone softened again, tinged with desperation but still sharp. You think exposing everything will make you strong. It won't. It will destroy lives, including yours. Jasmine's gaze remained unwavering, her voice calm but deadly. I'm not seeking strength. I'm seeking truth. The destruction is not mine, it's the inevitable consequence of lies finally being revealed. The cameras rolled tirelessly, capturing every flicker of expression, every subtle gesture, every inflection of voice. The confrontation had transformed the studio into a battleground of pride, emotion, history, and revelation. Every member of the crew understood the magnitude of what they were witnessing. The storm had fully arrived, and the next moments promised escalation, shocking revelations, and consequences that would ripple far beyond the studio walls. Rasheeda's voice, low and venomous, almost a whisper, pierced the charged silence. You have no idea the storm you've unleashed. Jasmine leaned slightly forward, eyes steady, unwavering, voice calm but lethal. I know the storm. and everyone will see it. The truth cannot be hidden any longer. The confrontation reached its relentless climax, the emotional energy so intense it seemed almost physical. The collision of pride, history, betrayal, and revelation had transformed the set into a crucible of raw human emotion. Assistants, producers, and crew members watched in awe and fear, knowing that what they were witnessing would define the narrative for years to come. The storm had only just begun, promising further escalation, shocking revelations, and consequences that would leave no one untouched. And now, after witnessing every heated exchange, every piercing glance, every word drenched in tension, you're left with questions burning in your mind. What will happen next between Rasheeda and Jasmine? Will the rift widen, or will there be a shocking reconciliation that no one sees coming? These are the moments that define reality television. Moments that leave fans talking for weeks, dissecting every expression, every inflection, every subtle gesture. And now, you're part of that conversation. Your voice matters. Imagine sitting in the audience, eyes wide, heart racing, as the storm unfolds. You've seen pride collide with truth, fear clash with courage, lies meet exposure, and history confront reality. You've witnessed a battle not just of words, but of legacy, reputation, and identity. And yet, the story doesn't end here. Each moment you've seen is only the beginning. What happens behind the cameras? Who supports whom in private? What hidden alliances will surface in the days ahead? These questions linger, because drama of this magnitude doesn't resolve easily. It lingers, it festers, it explodes at the most unexpected moments. And that's why you need to stay connected. Now, this is where you, the audience, come in. Your reactions, your opinions, your guesses, your wildest theories, they shape the conversation. Do you think Rasheeda overstepped, letting pride blind her? Or do you think Jasmine crossed a line, exposing too much too soon? Maybe you see shades of truth on both sides, conflicting loyalties and hidden motives. Your comments don't just exist in isolation. They fuel the discussion, create the buzz, and make you part of the unfolding drama. And there's more. Subscribing isn't just about following a story. It's about joining a community that thrives on insight, speculation, and insider knowledge. Every like, every share, every comment amplifies the drama, makes voices heard, and ensures you're at the forefront when the next explosive moment erupts. Think of it as securing your front row seat to a reality that's raw, unpredictable, and unapologetically real. The more engaged you are, the closer you are to being part of the narrative, not just a spectator. Fans are already speculating endlessly. Social media is buzzing with clips, GIFs, screenshots, and heated discussions. The family is divided, alliances are questioned, loyalties are tested, and the stakes keep rising. The tension is palpable, and it's spreading beyond the studio into living rooms, phones, and feeds across the globe. If you want to stay in the loop, if you want the latest twists before anyone else, subscribing is your ticket. It's the only way to ensure you never miss a beat of this high-stakes drama. And here's the truth. This isn't just entertainment. It's a window into human emotion at its rawest. Pride, fear, loyalty, betrayal, these are universal experiences. But amplified, exposed, and intensified on a scale that leaves an unforgettable mark. When you comment, you're not just giving an opinion. You're interpreting, analyzing, and participating in the unfolding story of personalities clashing under pressure. Your perspective matters, and when you share it, you influence how others see the drama, how the narrative develops, and how fans connect with the characters involved. So here's what you need to do. Don't just watch, engage, don't just scroll, participate. Hit that like button if the tension shocked you. If the confrontation left you breathless, if the stakes felt impossibly high, leave a comment with your opinion. Who was right, who was wrong, and what you think will happen next. Do you think Rasheeda will retaliate, escalate further, or find a way to take control? Do you believe Jasmine will hold her ground, escalate, or retreat strategically? Your insight fuels the drama, adds layers, and makes you a part of this unfolding saga. Sharing is equally powerful. Send this video to friends who love reality drama, gossip, and intense confrontations. Spark debates in group chats, social media threads, and forums. The more people involved, the richer the conversation, the deeper the immersion. When you share, you amplify the drama, make the story impossible to ignore, and invite others into the tension, excitement, and suspense that only reality television at its finest can deliver. And remember, subscribing isn't just a passive action, it's a commitment to being part of the narrative, to staying informed, to witnessing every unexpected twist, every shocking revelation, every escalation. It's about claiming your space in a story that evolves live, moment by moment, conflict by conflict. The next explosive moment could happen any day, and you want to be there when it does. Subscribing ensures that you won't miss the confrontations, the reconciliations, the shocking truths, and the twists that nobody sees coming. So take action now. Click subscribe, hit the bell notification, and become part of this drama from the inside out. Watch, comment, discuss, and speculate. Join the community of fans who live and breathe every moment of tension, every word spoken, every glance exchanged. The next chapter is unfolding, and your voice is part of the story. Your opinions, your theories, your engagement, they all matter. They give the drama life beyond the cameras, beyond the studio, and beyond the story itself. Don't let yourself be a passive observer. Step in, participate, contribute. The clash between Rasheeda and Jasmine is more than a fight. It's a living, breathing narrative of pride, truth, and revelation, and you deserve a front row seat. Your engagement shapes how the story is remembered, discussed, and interpreted. Your insight can spark debates, shape opinions, and make the drama unforgettable. So, what are you waiting for? Like, subscribe, comment, and share. Become part of the story. Witness every shocking moment, every heated exchange, every unexpected twist. Be part of the conversation, the speculation, and the analysis. The storm is far from over, and your involvement makes all the difference. Stay connected, stay engaged, and never miss a moment of the drama that's capturing hearts, attention, and curiosity around the globe. The next revelation, the next confrontation, the next twist, it's coming, and you'll be ready. Front and center, part of the story, part of the frenzy, part of the legacy. Don't just watch history unfold, be a part of it. Your clicks, your comments, your shares, they're your ticket into the most electrifying drama of the year. The family is divided, alliances are questioned, secrets are exposed, and every choice carries weight. Your opinion matters, your voice matters, your engagement matters. So hit like, subscribe, comment, and share. The story isn't over, and you're part of the next explosive chapter. Stay tuned, stay active, and be ready, because the drama is just beginning, and the world is watching.